Yo, I was young when the storm hit my life. Lost my queen, but the village held me tight. Every tear, every scar, every sleepless night built a woman who knows how to fight. Black girl this, black woman that. Black girl this, black woman that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to season 2 of Black Girl This, Black Woman That. My time with Rasheda, Beyond the Chair. What you been thinking about?
I've been thinking about a couple things. Firstly, that I'm enjoying this experience.
Yay! Okay, good.
Yes, I'm having a good time. I love our conversations. I like the fact that, like we talked about, just speaking out, being loud, not being in the background. And I've been having a good time so far with that.
Good. Have you ever had a thought of, even, because there's a process, y'all. I jot down notes, I send the notes, we talk about it, and we discuss from there. Has there ever been something that you've come across and was just like, I never really thought about that?
To be honest, most of it. Because I don't... So my thought process is I'm not somebody who sits in stuff a lot, right? Okay. Meaning I'm very in the moment. We're doing this is happening. And then that moment passes. I'm kind of on to the next moment, if that makes sense, right?
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
So
I get you thinking.
Yeah, because like I said, stuff happens and I'm like, okay, that happened. And I'm kind of past it. So because I generally just kind of experience things in a moment and usually don't think about it after the fact much, this is just kind of a little different. So in me thinking about the questions that you've asked, it just opened me up to a lot more, a lot more, not so much emotional stuff, but just a bigger way of thinking, I guess.
And I have to be transparent. So I was a little on the fence about that. That was something I was on the fence about because not everyone is open to it. And so it's how in depth, and I mentioned this to you, how in depth can we go? And then you were like, listen, I'm following your lead. I said, okay, that's all I needed to know. So here we are.
Yeah, because, I'm in a space right now where I want to experience, right? And within wanting to experience is kind of just jump, right? Because you going to jump and you either going to fall or you jump and you going to fly. So I'm in for experiences right now. So we can go as far as you want to go.
Well, I'm happy you said that. No, because it takes a lot. And sometimes, I think we mentioned this before, sometimes people aren't okay with sitting in the space of processing. Because like you said, you're either going to fall or you're going to fly. And I think even with falling and flying, it's up to the person. I feel like you can still kind of dictate what that looks like because what you do with it. Yeah, so yes. Okay. That was really good. Thank you for that. All right. So I wanted to talk about, in our previous conversations, you've always been, and I feel like this is something that I've taken from you since our conversations and just sitting in your chair and really connecting with you to show up as your authentic self. Yes. And it stuck out because for me, coming out of so many things happening in life, transitioning from a marriage, my friendship circles changing. Not that I wasn't unsure of what my authentic self is or who I am. It's more so kind of being mindful of all that comes with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because as women, we have multiple roles. So sometimes who you're showing up in this space and who you're showing up as in that space, not that they're not the same person, they're just different sides of the same person.
Yeah. So for you, what does showing up as your authentic self look like?
Rasheda's authentic self is moody. And I really can't help that sometimes. So I've accepted that to be really a part of who I am. And why am I drawing blanks right now?
Wait, but why would you consider yourself moody?
No, because I really am. I really am though. Like I have to really get sometimes in the mood for certain things. Because, okay, like for instance, right? I'm somebody that a lot of people come to as far as like to have conversations about just things happening in life, whether it's with themselves or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm not always, I guess, in the right headspace or I say mood for that.
Gotcha.
So I'll be having to sometimes like, okay, I need a minute to get there, or I'll, some days I just don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be bothered. And I usually take that pretty seriously because I'm somebody who usually like is to self, right? So sometimes having to step outside of self to just deal with what everyone else is dealing with, sometimes it can be a lot.
Yeah.
So I need to get myself in that space.
Yeah. But do you ever feel like you need to, like, or have you ever mentioned like, yeah, no, not today?
Oh yeah, I tell people that.
Yeah.
I take that very seriously. And why I mentioned the mood part first, because I've had instances where I know that I'm just not in a space, or I'll say mood, to be bothered.
Yeah.
Or I'm just in a mood where I want to be by myself. And I've said it to people who have come to me and I'm like, I just need a minute. Or like, just not right now.
Yeah.
And then the crazy thing is, people kind of take offense to it. And I never could understand why, because I'm like, if I know that this is how I'm feeling and I'm telling you this is how I'm feeling, or this is what I just need a minute to deal with whatever, why is it like, why is it an issue?
Yeah. I've made it a thing where, and I've done it to you too, where I'm like, can we talk? And that can we talk is kind of like, you got space? Like, do you have the capacity? I think that's, that's super important because everybody is dealing with their own things. And it's always good to check in first to make sure they can handle whatever it is that you're about to unload on them. Is that a new habit that you're doing, or it's something, or is it something that you've like always been accustomed to?
It's not a new habit for me, because I identified that my moodiness really is a part of who I am, because I've always been that way. I've also always been able to tell people like, not right now, or I don't feel like it right now. So it's not something that is just happening. But it's something that I'm being okay with, that sometimes people don't get it and they would, maybe be in their feelings. I'm like, it's okay that they're in their feelings because you kind of set that boundary in the first place.
I think that's the part that I used to struggle. I don't struggle with that no more. That's the part I used to struggle with because instead of saying like, I don't have the capacity to just like deal with it, or instead of saying like, not today, I'll just let a person talk. Right? And then I got to the point where I would say, I'm not going to ask you how you're doing because I'm trying to figure out how I'm doing. And so we're going to leave that right there. But I used to take it personal when they weren't being receptive of it. But now I'm like, yeah, you got to deal with that. And it's okay because you can't talk to me and I'm no help to you. It just doesn't make any sense.
And that's what I was actually going to say, because if I'm not in the right headspace and you're just talking to me, I can't give you the real that you might be coming to me to look for, know?
Yeah. And has it been a thing where relationships changed for you because people haven't been receptive of that?
For the most part, no. Because I have, in my mind, I have two types of relationships, even within like my friend circle, right? I have the ones who like we're talking about authentic selves, that I show up authentically as who I am, and they understand.
Okay,
so I have
yeah.
the ones who, okay, she's in the mood today. They're like whatever, and I do have the ones who I might say the same thing to them, that I'm not in the mood today, and they do take it personally, and they take it like it's more than what it is.
Yeah.
So I do have those two different types of friendships.
Yeah. I have a friend, and it's funny because when she used to say that, oh, Bernie is just in the mood, I used to take it personal. Like, okay. But now it's just like, she actually understood me for who I am, because I was definitely in a mood. And I was just in one of those moods where I just needed to be to myself and not really in the midst of everything that was going around. So I appreciate you for that, friend. I really do. I'm going to make sure you watch this episode. So, so you and I met. We have a mutual person. I was introduced to you as her stylist. And I've come to you at a time where, like I said before, I was going through a transition in life. My marriage, friendship circles changing. And we kind of just like connected on those terms. And like I said before, one thing that stood out to me was how authentic you were in our conversations, and just like mentioning, Bernie, listen, you just got to do you. Literally, those were your words.
Sounds like me.
Like, you got to do you. You got to do what makes you happy. And I sat on that very thing, because I think it was like, honestly, my second visit where you said it, because we started talking and you said it was just like, you just got to do what makes you happy. And I didn't ask like, but how do you do that? So now I'm asking.
You make yourself happy by eliminating anything that does not make you happy.
Period.
Like that's literally it.
Yeah.
If this doesn't make me feel good, and I'm not saying that you take away the things that might not make you feel good. You have to find a balance, right?
Yeah.
Because especially with relationships, you're not going to be 100% all the time.
Yeah.
But if you found yourself where you're happy, and this person, whatever it is taken away from your happiness and not either adding or just keeping you constantly at that level, then you can just remove it. That's how I feel.
That's it. And I stand on that with you. A lot of times it might be a little easier said than done, but it's definitely doable to just like identify those things that make you happy. And then those people or things that don't necessarily add to your happiness, like just cut it, period.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we all have to kind of account for ourselves. We all think about our own life.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got kids and stuff, then okay, you can't just like cut the kids off. But
yes, you can.
But at the end of the day, you have to be happy. You have to accept whatever it is that you want in your life, and anything else, you just take it out.
Yeah. Life is a big experience. How would you break that down?
Life is a big experience. For me, I would say that goes back to the saying where they say, like, life is what you make it, right? Like I said, we're all responsible for our own lives and what we're doing. And to say that life is a big experience, like, it's an ongoing experience, right? It's not like it's just one experience. So there's... For me, like, I think of it like, let's say a pie, right? You have all these slices in your pie. So all this is making up your experience, right? I know, go with me right here, right?
I'm coming. I'm with you.
So let's say we have 8 slices in your pie. That would be 8 different categories of life to make one big experience, right? So you're going to have your friendship experiences, you're going to have your family experiences, you're going to have your party experiences. You know, it's just, you have to find different things and include it to make it a whole pie.
I like pizza.
That did not go across the way I had it in my mind. But, okay.
Why? All right. So when we're thinking about relationships and connecting with people, the number one question that always comes to mind for me is, why is it so difficult? And it's not to say people are difficult.
Why is it so difficult to have relationships?
Yeah, like why is it so difficult to manage them? Because,
Okay.
and when I was thinking about it, I was actually reading my Bible. And when I was thinking about it, I was reading. And then I started from our relationship with God, and then our relationship with self, and then our relationship with people. All three of those are difficult.
Yeah.
I look at our relationship with God as it's a little difficult because of us, because of who we are and how we like to just go based off of what we want to do. It can be an easy relationship, but we make it difficult.
I don't want to say necessarily we make it difficult, because we are human beings and we're flawed. And temptation, I think, makes it difficult. Because if we didn't have temptation, then it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because you're just doing what you know you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But, we're human and we're flawed, so...
And then it's the relationship with ourselves. Why is that so difficult?
For me, I think it's a trust thing. And not so much that you're not trusting yourself. But, okay, so I had a time where I couldn't distinguish my thoughts and like God's voice, right?
Okay.
So it's like sometimes I'm doing something and I'm like, is this what I want to do, or is this what God said to do? So the fight and not being able to distinguish the two for me, and trusting that this voice is your voice and this voice is God's voice. That's why I said trust. Like, to me, that's the issue for me specifically.
That's actually good. And this is your relationship with God. Yeah, that's good. But then it can trickle down into our relationship with self as well. Because are you trusting who God has called you to be? And like, are you trusting who God has deemed you to be? So like, if he's saying like, this is who I called you to be, are you trusting that for yourself?
So it was actually the relationship with self.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's a part of the relationship with self. It's really not just self, it's God and self.
Amen. Yeah. It's God and self. So So there's technically no relationship with self. There's always a relationship with God and self. Like, you cannot, depending on who you are, right? Like, because people identify with different walks of life. So it depends on who you are. But like, as believers in Christ, there is no relationship with self.
There shouldn't be, because you don't want to do what you want to do. You always want to check in that what I'm doing is what I should be doing. So I don't think you can kind of separate the two.
Especially if you want to get into heaven. That's right. And then with other people, I think for me, it's a little difficult sometimes when you are trying to align with God, but then those other folks, their alignment is a little different. But then it's like, we are called to love. We are called to still serve one another. But then it's like, it's difficult because not everyone is on the same page, but you know what you're called to do. You know that you're called to act a certain way. So why is it that those relationships are a little difficult to manage, although we know and trust?
I think for some people, or I should say most of us, it's because we judge. Not always intentionally, but we do judge. And we have to remember that. They say judgment is not for us. We're not supposed to judge. If you were given something to do, you were given something to say to somebody, that God gave it to you, just do it. You're not supposed to judge where that person is. You're not supposed to judge what's going to happen after what that person did. So I think judging in those relationships, we don't realize that we do it.
Yeah. So that's okay. All right. So it's like, I get it. And that's a way to look at it, because I feel like for me, it's settling in with remove yourself. And you alluded to that in the previous episode too, like removing yourself from the situation, and then just allowing God to do what he do, even with relationships with other people. Well, all right, thank you for that. I think there's a certain level of confidence in knowing who we are, and of course whose we are, right? Like who we belong to, but that plays a huge role in how we show up in our relationships with people. And I think it's worth mentioning how confidence lead to not only us showing up as our authentic selves, but also encouraging that from others. So my question to you would be, why are you so confident in showing up as your authentic self? Boom. That was good.
Yeah, that was. So I think first would have to kind of define a little more what my authentic self is. Because all I said before was that I was moody, right? But I'm patient. I'm kind, and I'm mindful of people. And showing up like that has not always had great outcomes, more so when I was younger, because you would have people who would, try to take advantage of your kindness, try to take advantage of your patience, because a lot of times I think they would misread that as maybe shy or, kind of easy to walk over.
Yeah.
But I never was that. But I've learned as I've gotten older that those characteristics of myself are actually things that I need to show more of to people.
Not the kindness, but
the patience, my confidence, stuff like that. Because we all come from somewhere, and my journey to where I am and my level of confidence and stuff might not be the same journey that somebody else had. And for me, I gained a lot of my confidence from things that I've been through, as far as even friendships, relationships, romantic relationships. Because sometimes you go through things and you might, I don't want to say hit the bottom, because we go through stuff. But going through that first time, and then you were able to like bounce back from it. In the back of your mind is always that place of, I can always bounce back. I bounced back once, I can bounce back again. So I think that is an important part of where my confidence came from, because I bounced back.
Yeah. I think for me, it's the same as you. Like, I've always had the confidence, just not out loud. It was always like a settled confidence within me, to the point where it wasn't noticeable to like others. And so my kindness, my generosity, and all those things were taken as a weakness. And me too, as I got older, I had to make it a thing where it's like, I'm gonna show you how you treat me, or I'm gonna show you that you can't take this kindness and make it into something that is not, and misuse it. And that came with experience. That comes with experience, and knowing to, like, if I got through one thing, I'm also going to get through this. And that's the confidence that needs to speak out loud. So for sure, easier said than done, but it can definitely be done, and encouraged. Like, no, it's okay to be like, or to show I got this confidence. Like, it's okay to show that and to walk in it. Because not only is it helping you, it's also helping the next person as well.
Yeah, that's why it's important to speak. It's important to speak. That's why it's important to speak, and it's important to share your experiences and share your stories. You know, they say closed mouths don't get fed. And that's it.
Closed mouths don't get fed, period. No, but it's a saying, but it's a true saying. Was your confidence something that you had to sit in and really take heed to and really make note? Like, no, Rasheda, like, you got this. Like really sit in it and maybe even question yourself, like, why is this like such a settled thing, and why aren't you being so loud about it? And not necessarily loud, but making it noticeable.
I feel for me, my confidence was always a silent kind of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think that everybody that's loud is confident, and I also don't think that everybody who's not loud isn't confident. I think that's maybe a misconception. So for me, I don't think I ever really sat in my confidence, but I feel like it just grew over time.
Grew over time with experience and...
Yeah, experiences, because that's how you grow.
Yeah.
My mind is wandering.
Wondering about what? In our previous conversations, something that you mentioned was how serious you take relationships. And I kind of clocked that because I'm the same way. Okay. But I want to know why, like, what makes your relationship serious? That's the first part of the question. Get ready.
What makes my relationship serious is that I take it seriously. Like, I don't take friendships and stuff lightly. More so because I know what I have to offer, and I don't want to just give it to everybody. I've learned that what I have isn't for everybody. So I do take it seriously in that sense that if I'm giving you what I am, I guess I would say, holding precious to me, it's not for you to mishandle. You know, I have to trust that you're gonna handle what I'm giving you seriously. So in that sense, that is how I take my friendships and stuff very seriously. I don't call everybody my friend because I don't feel like everybody can handle what it is I have to give them.
So with that, what is the expectations in your friendship?
The expectations for me are usually that my friends take friendship seriously in the same way. Like, I'm pretty good with reading people. And like I said, I don't take everybody to be my friend. You have to have a certain characteristics that we just vibe off of. Yeah. You know, you have to be a kind person. And the relationship can be based on just like superficial stuff. Yeah. You know, not because we went to the same school or we, you know, like the same things. No. It has to be a little more depth in our friendships. More substance, for me to call you a friend.
And I mentioned expectations because I feel like in relationships, when we're connecting with people, I feel like a lot of it fails because we have these unsaid expectations. So what I've experienced in the past is not really being vocal with my expectations or putting these expectations on people without them even knowing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one of the biggest reasons why relationships fail, because we are putting these unsaid expectations on people and we're not really having conversations when things go left.
Yeah, that, and we're also not reading people. Sometimes we don't go deeper than we're supposed to. You know, just because, like I said, we like the same thing doesn't mean that we should be friends in that sense. Yeah. Like on a deeper level. Because I think we have to draw a distinction between, like, for me, friends, for me to call you my friend, like, that's a real thing. And then you do have the people who, on a lighter scale, is like, I guess you would say acquaintances.
Yeah. Someone I know.